Hello, and welcome to Adobe Live. So good to see you today. If we haven't met yet, I'm Jordan Ellis, and I'm here with Andy Lambert. What's up, Andy?
Hey, Jordan, good to see you.
Good to see you. I'm excited. We haven't been live in a while, and this is the stream where we're sharing the latest and greatest in social media. So we have a little bit to cover. I'm excited to get into that. But before we do, let's intro ourselves. Would you like to go first?
Oh, very kind of you. Thanks, Jordan. It's been a minute since we've done this, so we're a bit overdue. So anyway, welcome back. If you're joining us for another time, welcome. If you're a first-time joiner, I'm Andy, and for my sins, I spent the last 15 years in social media. Now working product on Adobe Express, building social media features that exist in Adobe Express. So covering two things today, lots about social media updates, and then towards the end, we're going to get onto all the shiny newness that we've added to Adobe Express. So over to you, Jordan.
Yeah, thanks. I am Jordan. I work on Adobe Express. I've been an Adobe Express evangelist for a little while, so I chat about the product and help answer questions, which is for those in chat. Also happy to answer questions that you may have. And before Adobe, I ran my own small business since 2011, so I'm very familiar with all of the ups and downs of trying to navigate the world of social media on your own. So yeah, I'm really excited. Okay, chat was saying I hope it's fixed. We'll find out, I guess. Yeah, I'm excited to talk about what we're doing today, which is going over what has been updated in the world of social. And the reason that we do this, for those of you who this is your first time joining, it's because there's a whole lot. Like, it's a genuine full-time job to keep up with what's happening on all the different platforms. And Andy is so kind to do all of that work for us, so we don't all have to research every single platform and find out what's new. And before we get started, again, one last thing is that we're going to throw a lot of info at you. Feel free to take what you want and leave what you don't. Not everyone needs to be on every platform. I'm certainly not active on every platform. So we'll share what we know, and then you can decide what you actually want to play around with. So, did I properly intro us?
You did. You nailed it. And yeah, could not agree with your point about, just picking what's right for you. There's always so much information flying at us, and there's always that FOMO that exists in the digital world, especially that relates to digital marketing. Like, oh, we should be doing there. This is a new thing. Oh, that thing's dead. Everyone should be there. And it's overwhelming, right? And quite frankly, what actually helps us more than anything is consistency. It's like, how can we consistently take an approach to building our brands on social, not being everywhere? And honestly, I would take consistent, steady progress over occasional viral hits any day of the week, right? And Jordan, you know this from building a small business. That's the staple of how you grow. It's just consistent, positive action in the right direction. And you're not going to get it right all the time. You'll do some things that don't quite work out, but that's okay. But it's constantly like on that gentle upward trajectory. That's my mental model on it. Anyway, what about you, Jordan?
Yeah, I think too, like, as someone who has had a few videos like go better than others, that's not always the thing that actually drives whatever you're trying to drive, traffic or sales or whatever. So that's actually not necessarily the biggest goal, which something else we talk about a lot is like, whatever your goals on social are also going to be different. Some are going to be, you want 1 million followers. Some are going to be, you want sales. Some are going to be, you're building community. And they all have, they're all slightly different. And I feel like what you and I care the most about is building like genuine connections, and not just like a vanity metrics. So that's a lot of what we're going to talk about.
Definitely that. So just in case you want the recording and you want the slides from this, here's a QR code that will help you get this, because we're going to be talking for the next 45 minutes solid, with some questions and such. But I think there's a lot coming your way. So, and it can be easy to miss bits because, I'm sure you've all got, busy things, busy lives that you're working with. So if you want to get the slides and make sure you don't miss anything, go ahead, take that QR code and make sure you're subscribed to this, and then you get the recording and the slides. All right. If you joined us before, you'll know the format by now. We're pretty consistent in how we do this. So we're going to start with some data and trends that you need to know, and then we're going to go network by network, look at all the most important changes that you need to know that have happened over the course of this month. So by the end of the top of this hour, you will have sat back, grabbed a coffee or tea or whatever your choice of beverage is, and then you'll be fully briefed on the things that are most important to building our brands that are happening in the world of social. All right. Let's dive in. So let's start with this. So YouTube has crossed a pretty crazy milestone of 1 billion minutes watched of, I think that number's 1 billion. Yeah, it is. So 1 billion minutes watched of podcasts. So
I don't see that number very often. That's a
no,
big
I wish
number.
I did. I don't. Yeah, and it really underpins how powerful YouTube is as a platform across so many vectors. We've been speaking about this over the last few months. Like YouTube Shorts predominantly is growing tremendously at the moment. YouTube Shorts is a wonderful place to grow reach and distribution, right? So, and Jordan, you mentioned it a moment ago, like your goal might be to grow 1 million followers. But actually in the way that YouTube, TikTok and Instagram Reels works, you don't need 1 million followers to have a video that absolutely hits and reaches millions of views, quite literally, because the way that YouTube Shorts is recommending content is all based around this recommended media model, where basically good quality content wins. And for me personally, I don't know about you, Jordan, but like this lowers the bar for getting our small business the eyes it deserves and needs. And then if you kind of think about the broader picture of YouTube, because I've just taken a little segue into YouTube Shorts there, but now YouTube is the #1 place where people are consuming their podcasts. So, given the continual rise of podcasting as a format, and I don't see that declining anytime soon, if you do run a podcast, make sure they're not audio only, make sure you have a video component if you can, and then make sure you publish on YouTube. That really is the kind of key message here. And often outside of like the creators that we see in our ecosystem, I see YouTube being an underutilized resource for so many businesses, particularly small businesses. So either way, you've probably got my narrative here. YouTube is incredibly powerful. So what's your take, Jordan?
I'm actually so glad that this is the first thing we're talking about, because I started a podcast in 2018, and I've taken an accidental very long break, and I actually have been thinking about starting it up again. And so what I was thinking about in that process was like, things have changed in the past couple of years. Where exactly do I want to host it? Do I want to add video? And I was like, yeah, I think I probably should. So having this be the first thing we're talking about is just affirming that I was right. So stay tuned. I might have some podcast news in the future. But also just to plug 2 things too, if this is interesting to you and you're like intimidated by the tech of it, if you haven't played around with Adobe Podcast yet, it's a really great, very, very easy to use audio editor. And we also have in Adobe Express out in beta that folks can play with the video clip maker. So this is a perfect way to create a longer form video and then clip it into social posts, which we talk about repurposing content all the time. So maybe someday we'll do a full on podcast stream, but we have resources for you if you're interested in going this direction. That's just, honestly, it's getting easier and easier, which is great.
Love it. So that's such a good call out. We're going to show the clip maker later on, give you a quick demo of that so you get an idea. But I think that perfectly demonstrates like how you can easily, creating one content type, as in like a video podcast, one long form piece of content, repurposing it to YouTube Shorts. So really good call out, Jordan. So let's cover that. Talking about YouTube, like there's two stats that continue to blow my mind about YouTube. One is that they're now the biggest streaming provider worldwide. So more streaming TV is consumed on YouTube than Netflix. They recently overtook Netflix in the last 3 months. But now their advertising business alone is nearly as big as the whole of Netflix's business now. So you look at it across all of the vectors, whether it's video podcasts, whether it's shorts, whether it's the advertising business, or whether it's the fact that consumption of content is increasingly shifting to connected TVs. And that, I think, is such an incredible opportunity, particularly for small businesses, whereby you can now appeal to consumers who are sat there lounging in their front rooms, watching their streaming shows on YouTube, and either see your ads or see your organic content being surfaced on YouTube. Now, to get that sort of reach and exposure and get that kind of mind share of an audience, I'm really excited about this as an opportunity for brands. So yeah, it sounds like this is a massive advert for YouTube right now, but yeah, I think that's.
But to your point, we're in a special time where like you can't just get a show on Netflix. Like there are a lot of steps and you have to be approved, but you can just start a show on YouTube. So it is really cool, just the opportunity that platforms like this give us. So I think it's fine to talk about how great this is.
It's good. What a time to be alive. This is incredible. Honestly, don't sleep on this. If I was thinking about any platform as like what would be my primary strategy for the rest of 2025 going into 26, I would try and make YouTube a cornerstone of that strategy personally. So let's look at some data, because as Jordan well knows, I am a nerd with this kind of stuff. This was a report from HubSpot, and I found it really interesting to see like where are people getting the most ROI from their marketing content. So typically that's coming from paid social media content, so your social media ads, for example. But the kind of interesting counterpoint to this is that despite the fact that this is what most organizations are seeing the most ROI from, they're seeing it from paid. But actually, when you look at what are marketers investing more in, interestingly, they're investing more in organic social content. So even though they're not leveraging the highest ROI from it, it's actually top of everything, whether it's like SEO, paid social shopping, email marketing, it tops them all in terms of what marketers are investing in. So I can only kind of make some assumptions based on this. It's either the fact that we're getting less ROI obsessed with some of our kind of content investments and investments in time, which is encouraging, right? Because I've had this battle for the last 15 years of like, oh, what's the ROI of social? Of which, yes, you can attribute that for paid oriented work, right? When you're running an ad specifically to, hey, buy this product, fine, you can attribute that. But for the stuff that Jordan and I often talk about, which is the kind of like messy, emotionally led, like connection stuff, that kind of fluffy human bit, which forms trust and affinity around a brand, you don't put an ROI on connection, emotion, friendship, right? You don't do that. So I think that's an interesting, maybe I'm barking up the wrong tree here, but like certainly across these two data points, I certainly see a decoupling in terms of like ROI and organic social content. Maybe brands are more recognizing actually, we're sick of just seeing over branded stuff. We actually just want genuine connection and meaning. Anyway, that's my positive spin on it, Jordan. I don't know if you got any views.
Yeah, no, exactly. I mean, that kind of goes back to what I said at the beginning, which is like, I feel like the brands I enjoy the most online have that human component as well. And then that's usually what makes me actually buy into whatever they're doing. So I think you and I are on the same page about that for sure.
And I think, you and I have spoken about this before, Jordan, where this really is like the small business superpower, right?
Exactly.
For a large business, it's very hard to like personalize a brand, right? But for a small business, whether you're, Jordan, your small business, for example, or AN other small business, it's so much easier to put the face to the brand. And I always say this with businesses that I advise on social is like, for a long time, until you're like the size of Adobe, for example, for a long time, your personal brand will be more valuable than your company brand, your logo, because that's, it's people will buy from you, Jordan, because of you. So that's the powerful thing. So I think we as business owners need to lean into being willing to kind of express our thoughts and opinions, being willing to be in front of camera, that kind of thing. That's my take anyway, Jordan. Is there anything else you want to add before we move on?
Yeah, we have agreement in the chat. I totally agree. Human connection equals trust. And just along those same lines, something that I learned years ago that made me feel a lot better when I was a very, very small business. I heard the concept of like, there are obviously opportunities that you have as a big business, like you have tons of resources and you have tons of, you can do a lot, but there are different things that you can do as a medium and a small business that you can't. Like every size that you're at has different opportunities, and then as you grow, or those opportunities change. So like there are definitely things, like you said, that you can only do as a small business. Like for me, I did handwritten thank you notes. That was such a cool thing to be able to do, like with all the orders that I couldn't do 7 years later when I was shipping out way too much stuff. And like, you really can't do as a corporation unless you want to put a ton of resources into that. So it's just kind of cool to find, like, sometimes it can feel like you're too small and it's, you you can't do as much. But the truth is you can just do different things. So that, I feel like that helped me feel a lot better about being a small small business.
I like that. Yeah, and it gives you the opportunity to do things that don't scale in those early days. I think that's
Yeah, exactly.
right. Some engagement rate data. I always like to talk about this kind of stuff. So what platforms are delivering good bang for buck in terms of...
Look at LinkedIn up there. Sorry to interrupt you. That's exciting.
Oh, no, do it. Like that, it took me by surprise, to be honest. LinkedIn's having a moment right now, and has been having a moment for the last year, I think. So yeah, really encouraging. Goes to show that we're still seeing like really good, these are organic engagement, right? So we're still seeing really good traction organically. Instagram Reels is probably one of the biggest losers from year to year, as well as TikTok. But that doesn't mean that there's no point in doing that either way. It's just a case of those platforms are starting to mature. But what LinkedIn is trying to do is still trying to push as much interaction on the product as possible. Because we didn't do this session last month, I think one thing that was really interesting related to how important this engagement piece on LinkedIn is that whenever you comment on a post on LinkedIn, you'll have seen it will tell you how many impressions that comment got. So that really helps you understand that actually LinkedIn are really leaning into encouraging people to comment and engage as much as possible, because we know that we also get additional reach. It's incentivization. Get the incentives right and you can drive the right action, right? That's how platforms and everything in life works, right? So they're incentivizing people, saying, hey, if you comment on posts, just so you know, you're going to get seen more. That's naturally driving more behavior of people interacting more on posts, which naturally is helping posts get boosted, yada yada. So good engagement rates. But when you kind of peek behind the curtain of this, you can actually see LinkedIn are engineering towards strong engagement, because that's what they want. So either way, good news for us. And yeah, LinkedIn performing incredibly well. Now, I'm going to go through this at a very high level, because these stats, the next 5 slides, which is like best times to post, this is data again from Hootsuite. They're really useful data here, actually. So this data from Hootsuite tells us in the darker patches on each platform, where do we see the best reach on our posts. So this is global data. Again, I always say, defer to your own understanding of your own audience. Look at your own data for this. Use this as a guide, however. And you'll notice, unsurprisingly, like mornings tend to index better much earlier on a Wednesday, which is fascinating to me. Sunday afternoons fairly strong. And again, we'll see the similar kind of pattern where afternoon, evening, where people are kind of sat on the sofa casually browsing after a long day of work, I think this maps the patterns that you could probably expect to see, where you see, mornings and afternoons indexing better. But I think some of this is quite interesting depending on your audience, because there's still, there's a lot of activity on Sunday. It gets very dark on Sunday there. So I never post on a Sunday. So actually, maybe there's increased opportunity there.
Well, and as we'll talk about at the end, you can schedule your posts. So if you don't want to work on the weekend, you can plan ahead. Quick question for you, Andy. Are we going to talk about LinkedIn video later? We have a question in chat that I'm not sure if I should hold it.
Do I have any specific updates on LinkedIn video? Sorry, Blake and Schroeder. No, I actually don't. So
okay, can I ask you a question now then?
Yeah, do it.
Carson in the chat is asking, curious to hear your thoughts on the LinkedIn video features section on mobile. Is that a good avenue to explore for posting short form video?
Short answer to that is yes. LinkedIn are prioritizing video heavily. Impressions are up across the board as far as video goes. Video reach is up 36% year over year. Really encouraging. So as you can see, you perfectly noticed it on mobile, which is still where most of LinkedIn content consumption is happening. Only 1% of LinkedIn video users and LinkedIn users post video. So there is a great attention arbitrage opportunity. LinkedIn have 1 billion members. And only 1% of the active users, which I don't actually know the number of that because LinkedIn are a little bit coy with their data there. But yeah, huge attention arbitrage opportunity. The fact you're seeing this more heavily on LinkedIn or on mobile, this mobile video on LinkedIn rather, the fact you're seeing it more is just LinkedIn pushing it harder. And yeah, the impression data speaks for itself. So do more of that, definitely.
Cool. That's what I thought you would say, but
cool. I'm that predictable. But really good call out. Facebook indexes again much more morning time. So there you go. LinkedIn similar with this. Interestingly, like Fridays, incredibly dense here in the mornings. I've typically avoided Fridays on LinkedIn, so this data has now led me to do a bit more experimenting. So my last post last Friday, because I saw this data and I was like, oh, I'm going to post something now, did surprisingly well. Whether that's causated, I don't know, but definitely worthwhile testing. And I think this speaks volumes of like, it's easy to fall in a habit, and I'm guilty of this. I fell into a habit of like, I post at 8:30 every morning, or 3 mornings out of 5 in a week, Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday, I think. I post those 3 days and that's it. And I've been doing the same for the last couple of years. So I kind of fell into that kind of trap where I've kind of forgotten my own advice of like, just experiment occasionally, just experiment, try some different days and different times. And I think there's time of posting matters less on like TikTok, on Instagram Reels, YouTube Shorts, because they're not necessarily driven by your social graph. They're mostly driven by if the algorithm thinks your content's good and people start engaging with it, it's going to get shown to some more people. But for platforms that are still very time driven and social graph dependent, so that's LinkedIn, that's Facebook feed, that's Instagram feed, those type of platforms, time of post still does matter. X is crystal clear where those engagements are typically happening on the Monday and the Tuesday mornings as well. Clearly, the TLDR is like mornings on balance are still the best, unless you speak to TikTok, who like to buck the trend where clearly people are spending their lives doom scrolling on Fridays and Saturdays.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, guilty. So
relatable. Yeah.
So yeah, with the kind of exception to this whole kind of morning rule is TikTok. But again, like timing your posts on TikTok is not as essential for the reasons I just shared. But talking about TikTok as well, before we move into the network by network updates, this is the last kind of like data and trend thing, but I found this super interesting. So 86% of the content that's posted to TikTok is less than 60 seconds long, yet the posts that are longer than 60 seconds, so the only kind of 14% of the videos that are posted, get 43% more reach and 63% more watch time. So kind of unsurprising, longer videos get more watch time, but actually the good news here is that, well, good news depending on like your length of videos that you typically produce. But the interesting thing here is that longer videos are getting pushed more, which I find really interesting. And, you know, when you start to unpack it, it does make sense. Everything for TikTok is geared around keeping people on the platform. So watch time is a huge determiner of your post success. More people watching your content or more time spent watching your content, the further it's going to go. So that'll then probably, this usually prompts questions like, oh, what's the best time to post? Is it a minute or ideal length of the video, I should say? Is it 60 seconds? Is it 90 seconds? I think the general rule here is like, make your videos as long as they need to be, right? No more than 3 minutes, because people are kind of tuning off after that point. But if your message is compelling enough, 20 seconds is still fine. But actually, if it takes you 60 to 90 seconds to tell the story most effectively, then do it. And what you'll also have is a net effect that TikTok seem to be pushing the content that is a little bit kind of still call it short form, but the longer side of short form content. So, I mean, this helps me personally because, as you can probably tell, I'm very verbose. So my videos typically don't come in any less than 60 seconds. But it just goes to show that I think this opens up more creative surface area for the content that we're going to create. We don't have to create little kind of viral dance 15-second things. We can tell better stories over a longer period of time, over the 60 to 90-second mark. And I think this just gives us more creative freedom. That's my positive spin. But what's your view, Jordan, before we move on?
Yeah, I have a hard time sticking to an exact time. Like, I feel like I'm usually at like a minute and a half. But it also really depends on the type of content you're making. Like, I think you and I both do a lot of educational stuff. And so sometimes it just takes that long to explain. Like, I'm like, I can't say all this in 45 seconds. It won't be helpful. So I'm happy personally for a longer time that we can have for this stuff. And it also makes sense that longer videos get more watch time. Like, that makes sense to me. So I'm grateful for a little more under 60 seconds, as the rule was tough. I had definitely a hard time with that.
Yeah, definitely agree with that. So we're going to talk some more about watch time when it comes onto Instagram in a second, but a couple of updates then from Meta. This will probably, I don't know if this will please anyone. I'm very interested to see what the reaction is in the chat. Reels is such a big deal.
Yeah, let us know.
Yeah, I don't like to talk about like things that might happen because there's enough noise in social as it is, but I thought this was interesting enough to bring it up. Because clearly the battle that Instagram are finding is that there are quite a lot of compromises you need to make when your app does messaging, does short form video, does, you know, feeds, does carousels. Yeah, there's a lot to it. So that's probably why they're thinking about it. But you know, do you want another app to check? I'm not sure I do, but either way, let us know in the chat. If you're based in the EU, then you'll get the same AI chatbot that US users have been enjoying maybe for the last kind of 6 months. Could be quite good for content ideas, can be good to prompt for some suggestions and some images and such. Great to ask questions to discover interesting things to do or buy. I think my jury's out, to be honest, as to whether this is actually useful yet. And I think given the rise of AI generated content on Meta platforms at the moment, I have to say I'm a little bit skeptical about some of this stuff. It does make our jobs, as we were talking about, trying to show our kind of unique humanity as small businesses, as creators, people that are trying to cut through, it does add to the noise and the clutter that we need to wade through in order to have our voices heard. But then again, the kind of positive side of this is that in amongst all of the kind of generic AI generated stuff, good quality human stories, well told, do have an opportunity of cutting through and differentiating. That's my positive spin. I don't know. I'm not gonna pontificate too much on this stuff, but what's your take, Jordan, before we move on?
Yeah, I'm not that interested in this, to be honest. Yeah, it's never really been for me. We have an answer to the Kenneth said, there's really no reason for Meta to launch a whole new app when they could just make changes to the existing one. So I'm kind of,
Fair.
I think Threads made sense to be a new app because that's like kind of a different concept. You know, it's all not all text, but to me that experience is different. I'm curious. But to be honest, as someone who, if you've been a part of these streams, video is not my, like, I'm kind of going into video content kicking and screaming. Like, I'll do it. But it's
You're
not
good
my
at it.
favorite.
Yeah, you self short. You're very good at it.
Well, thank you. I don't like making it. Like, photos is my favorite thing. So OG Instagram was my favorite. I love, like, my favorite way to capture content is photos. Like, I just think that's, I love that. And so I would not mind if we got like a photo app back.
You and billions of others quite like.
Yeah, so I'm kind of interested in that.
I'm with you.
We'll see.
All right, let's hit
I'm not
Facebook.
getting my hopes up.
Yeah, I wouldn't. So we can now draft our Facebook stories if that's your thing. You can now create some drafts, which makes planning a little bit easier. Sticking with Facebook too, you can now schedule your reels as well. Just as a kind of a quick sneak, you'll be able to schedule Facebook reels on Adobe Express soon enough. So stay tuned for that one too. And if you're creating a multimedia story, like a mix of images and photos in the story, you've got a new display here, which allows you to choose like separate stories, a photo collage, or
that's cool.
do a mashup. So you've got some more creative tools. Yeah, so Facebook are still continuing to push stories and reels quite heavily as well. So definitely something to bear in mind. And of course, given that Meta are so keen for you to cross post across both platforms, it kind of makes sense to do so, especially as it relates to reels, because reels will find, Meta will help you find your audience with reels. So it seems like a no-brainer to me. If you're creating a reel for Instagram, you might as well cross post it to Facebook too. Doesn't hurt. And talking of stories views, that Facebook cares enough about it that is now enabling monetization. So if you're a creator and you're fortunate enough to have a good degree of followers that care about your stories and such, so they're now enabling monetization, so you can get paid for your stories views as well. So I think it's really encouraging, and you're going to continue to see these platforms lean into the creator economy and supporting creators, which I absolutely adore. On to Insta. Our friend Adam Mazzeri, I'm sure you're all familiar with him by now. If you don't follow him, you probably should do, because it'll tell you all of the stuff that you need to know. We're talking about watch time. So watch time we were talking about as it related to TikTok a little while ago, but it's as important on Instagram Reels, right? So watch time, super important. And again, Instagram followed the same pattern that TikTok did, where they started with super short videos, 15 seconds, went to 30, went to 60. Now they're at 3 minutes. And as you can see, and what I expect to see, Instagram will continue to push longer form, short form videos. So I actually think this whole kind of like 60 to 90-second thing is not just relevant for TikTok, it's going to be relevant for Instagram Reels too. So that's quite good, again, because it's going to allow us to repurpose our content across different platforms, etc. We'll talk more about that at the end when we get into Adobe Express. But the important thing is here, it used to be like the percentage of watch time, the percentage of viewers that would watch past 3 seconds was the indicator of success. That has now changed, where it's also like the number of total seconds that people have consumed. So actually longer videos will typically get people watching for longer, because there's more available surface area for people to watch. And if those watch times higher, it's going to get pushed further. Basically, the same thing as I've been talking about with TikTok is the same for Instagram. Instagram also posted their latest video posting tips. Sometimes this advice is all pretty generic, but I thought it's good enough to share it here. Basically, the likes and the things that you should do and you shouldn't do. And also a good reminder that 50% of all time on Instagram is on Reels. So really significant. That's why they care so deeply about watch time. And this is why creating video is fundamental to your growth on Instagram. I'm sure we all know this. What can help? Like and reply to comments, share when your audience is online. We looked at best time to post, upload highest resolution, makes sense. Post your content on other platforms at the same time. Now, I think this is possibly a bit of a stretch, really. This really is not going to make your content go any better. It's just Instagram wants you to promote the same content across multiple different platforms. Either way, I think it's a good thing, but is it going to help your reel do better? Not really. So I think that's an interesting one. Anyway, what can hurt? Stuff that we know. Don't bait engagement. Don't just say, comment, tips in the chat to receive my playbook or whatever. So try and stay away from that, because that is what Instagram are trying to engineer against. Don't go over 3 minutes, don't have third-party watermarks, and don't post content didn't create. Super generic stuff. We should all be doing this anyway, right? But always a good reminder anyway. For subscriber only content, you can now preview it too. So if you're a creator and you've started to amass a good amount of followers, you obviously can monetize those followers and have like a private paid subscription only element to your Instagram, as I'm sure you might already be aware. But now we can give users a better preview. So if they're thinking about becoming a subscriber to your subscriber only content, they can see some snippets of the kind of things that you create, and they can make a more informed decision whether they want to subscribe to you. I think the macro level here is really powerful. All of these platforms are investing more in creator tools. There are 200 million creators worldwide, so people that are creating content as their sole income. And we're expecting to see another 80 million people join the creator economy over the next 6 to 12 months. So the creator economy is absolutely huge. So that means that the social platforms are doing everything they can to help these creators monetize, build their communities, etc. But what that also means for us as brands, it means we have more opportunities to find creators that we can collaborate and partner with to help build our brands. Now, if you've seen these shows before, you'll know that I spend most of my life talking about collaborations and the importance of that to drive social growth. And to be honest, if I had to only give one single tip as to what it takes to build a great social media following, it would be work with others in your niche. And honestly, the explosion of the creator economy gives us more opportunity to find people in our niche, to collaborate with, to create better content together. So I'm going to get off my soapbox now. I've been speaking a lot. So Jordan, any takes on anything I've shared?
I don't think anything I haven't said yet. I'm obviously with you on collaboration. That's, literally what we're doing right now is collaborating on these videos. Yeah, I think this all makes sense. I like this preview option because I personally haven't used subscriber only for anything, because for everything I do with Adobe, it's all free. And this wasn't really around as much when I was hardcore doing my business. But it is cool to be able to preview it. So it's you get a taste of what I think Substack does that too. If you have a paid option, you get the first paragraph or something that makes sense to have a little preview. So that's cool.
Yeah, love it. We can now share stories to group chats, and this is important because increasingly we're seeing more time on Instagram being spent not just on video, which is still predominantly the most of the time spent on Instagram. We're seeing a lot of people spend time in DMs and chats. So sharing stories to group chats, again, really important thing. Just again speaks to the value of these kind of smaller niche communities. So that goes into these spaces like we've been speaking about broadcast channels. We can now have group chats with up to 250 people as well. So think about you might have brand ambassadors, you might have your top customers or whatever it might be. Those small little groups that you can nurture on Instagram are incredibly powerful. Again, finding ways to connect people to your brand and what you do so that you can both elevate yourself and those around you. And Instagram have started sharing some best practices as well. You'll see this in the app. So for creation, engagement, reach, etc. So these are some nice embedded tips that you can find to help you continually level up your Instagram content. LinkedIn continues to grow, just hit over 1 billion members recently, like I shared earlier. And they're really pushing their newsletter product. I'm very bullish on LinkedIn newsletters, actually. I shared this before. But I think it's such an easy way to grow. And of course, you've got to produce valuable stuff. Yes, creating longer form content takes some time, etc. But yeah, newsletters, I went from 0 subscribers to 5,500 in about 30 minutes. So it was incredible.
That's nuts.
Yeah, it was crazy. Obviously, growth has massively tapered off after that. But like, the wonderful hack is, and I want everyone to do this, provided it's relevant before LinkedIn close it, is that as soon as you start a newsletter, it will then announce it to all of your followers. So provided you've got a reasonable follower base or connection base on LinkedIn, then everyone's going to get a notification which will appear in their notification feed to say, hey, you should subscribe to Andy's newsletter. And every time I make a new connection on LinkedIn, they get automatically say, hey, you're now connected to Andy. And the next notification they get is like, you should subscribe to his newsletter. And that just happens by default. And honestly, it's like, this is absolute gold. There isn't another social platform that helps you start a viral loop like that. And what they've now just done is cool. You can now, if you do video on LinkedIn, like we shared earlier how important video is in LinkedIn, you can now embed the videos you create on LinkedIn directly in your newsletters too. So they're really pushing it. They're adding more features to it, which says to me they're continuing to push this as a content format. Allows us to own our relationship with our audience better, because newsletters are not delivered through just LinkedIn. They're obviously sent to people's email addresses too. So whilst we don't own those email addresses, so that's something to be mindful of, because this could go away at any point, and we don't have, it's not like Substack or another, if you have an email database for your customer list, it's not like that. So we do need to be mindful about data ownership on this. But either way, make hay while the sun shines, because I think there's a lot of opportunity here. We don't talk about X for obvious reasons. But they are still building out X communities, which is still one of my favorite areas of the product. Again, this speaks to what I was speaking about with like Instagram broadcast channels and group chats. This whole kind of more private communities, people increasingly are finding their spaces with their tribe around them, right? Finding their private corners of the internet where they want to hang out. So I think, leading into that or leaning into that can be a really positive way that we can help grow our business. Find those communities, find where your tribes and audience is, and spend time in those spaces. On to TikTok. I think just one update here. You can now create templates from content that you've seen that have inspired you. So this is a really useful way of like getting some inspiration for your content. Of course, you've got Adobe Express to create your own templates too, but this is quite good for when you find something on TikTok that you're like, oh, that's pretty cool. You can now use that as a template to guide your post creation. Threads, a couple of really interesting ones. So one, you can limit your post replies. So this is straight out of the X playbook. So if you don't want randoms replying to your threads, then you can just limit as to who can reply to it. Again, speaks to that private communities, people finding their safe spaces. This micro community space, I think, is really interesting. Really important note here is that
I've seen this a lot this week.
Oh,
sorry. Yeah.
Cool. Oh no, please.
I wasn't sure if you were still talking about the last thing. I'm in pop culture spaces, and I've seen it with like design too, but specifically with like TV shows that everyone's talking about. It's been very fun for me because that's where I thrive. And I was like, oh, my threads just got so fun. Like this week was the Severance finale, and my entire feed was memes, and it was great. So I'm loving this.
So is that because you looked at a Severance topic tag and you saw?
Well, so yeah, like it's just kind of automatically, I think it's automatically tagging, right?
Yes, yeah, it does. Yeah.
So I think it knows I like that topic. So then anyone who's like posting that keyword is coming up in my algorithm, and it's great. But same thing with design as well. Like I'm seeing that with like, design threads and stuff.
Mm.
It's I'm living for threads right now. This is my favorite. This is my favorite place to hang out at the moment.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Because I've been on a bit of a hiatus from threads, to be honest, but it sounds like I need to get back in it. Because I think topic tags is going to change the game, because it means that content now, to your point, I think you just shared the most perfect example, right? Is that because people are tagging their content, and there's some AI recognition of what their content's about, it's now starting to finally get that wheel turning of like, there's interesting content around the thing that I care about. And this is what this update is a note to say, like, it's prompting you to add a topic. So if you're creating a thread, let's say you want to pile in on the conversation around severance, for example, make sure you add a topic tag. You can only add one, and this is what I love, right? There's no
That's so nice too. Yeah.
there's no hashtag nonsense of like, oh,
Yeah,
what
it's not
hashtag? Put in
spamming.
520. All of that nonsense goes away. It's just like, I'm talking about this topic. So if we're talking about this topic, and now the important thing that came out of threads was that they shared that threads with topic tags get more views. So basically, take be more Jordan with threads. So spend time looking at it, consuming it, and if you want to get involved, make sure you use topic tags.
You know what else too? One last thing, because again, I'm loving this right now. I think it's really good for local, like finding local community too. Like Threads knows that I live in Philadelphia, and so I've been getting a lot of things in my feed that are like Philly creator meetups, Philly like art walks, things like that. So it's been clutch. Like whatever they're doing right now, it's working. I think
Love
it's
that.
great.
Really cool. That's really cool. I skipped over
So
to
get back on
that's
Threads
important.
and
So I'm
behave.
gonna hit Blue Sky, because we've been talking about the kind of micro community stuff. So they're following the same pattern as the rest of the platforms, taking videos up to 3 minutes. So yeah, videos now on Blue Sky. Reddit. This is really, really useful. Reddit has always been one of those platforms that it kind of really useful to listen to what's going on, but can be kind of intimidating to get involved with, because it can be kind of hard to, as a new user, to get involved. But now Reddit's kind of simplifying that post creation process. So if you want to like chime in on a particular subreddit, exactly what you can or can't do. And Reddit's now recommending subreddits and showing you kind of post analytics too. So predominantly, I love Reddit as a listening tool. I very rarely post on it, if at all, but I spend time like consuming content from Reddit, because it's basically one of the best ways of listening to your audience. But if you want to kind of chime in and start sharing, they're now made it a whole heap easier.
Wait,
Right.
real quick before we wrap this section.
Yeah.
So for anyone we've talked about this on other streams. I don't think we've said it today yet, but you talked about using Reddit as a listening tool.
Yes.
It is really great, especially if you create tutorials. Like Andy and I both make tutorials for Adobe Express. And it is a great way to see the questions that folks are asking, and then what types of videos to make. So if there's a Reddit community that's like in your niche, definitely go see what people are talking about and see if you can make content that answers their questions.
Love that. Yeah, that's a great call out. Well, a quick 30-second summary is YouTube, LinkedIn, fantastic organic growth right now. YouTube, as you can tell, very bullish on. We spoke about LinkedIn newsletters and how they represent such a great opportunity. Watch time is becoming a really primary metric to pay attention to for any short form video platforms. So slightly longer videos also working really well, particularly on TikTok. But I expect the same is going to be true of Instagram. And we've just been talking about the opportunity that exists on Reddit. So how long we got? We got what, 5 minutes?
Yeah, 7.
7 minutes. All right, cool. We can do that. So
Yeah.
we want to share some updates related to what you can do on Adobe Express as it relates to scheduling content. So do you want to take us through what exists today? And I'm going to then touch on a couple of new things, Jordan.
Yes. So this is perfect. We had quite a few questions throughout the chat asking if you schedule your content, if that like penalizes you. I feel like we get asked this every single time. All the research that both of us have seen is that it doesn't. So feel free to use the scheduler and not have to worry about your content being seen less. So right now, and this is free, so you can play around with it whether you have an Adobe account or not. You can try it out and see if you like it. But in Adobe Express, you can head to the schedule button over on the left. You'll get this beautiful calendar. And so not only can you schedule your content, which probably, if you've ever played with a social calendar before, it works the way you think it will. But my favorite thing is these purpley boxes here. So you can turn these on and off in the filter. But Andy, I think you and your team have built out this really incredible resource. So one is you can turn on and off global holidays. So if your business or you like to react to what's happening, in the world, you don't want to forget Earth Day or things like that. Like this is a great way to have those reminders. But the other one that I love, love, love is we have content like prompts. So if you're ever stuck with what to post, if you want a default social calendar already built out for you, this schedule is 3 days a week. And you can obviously, like anything, take what you want, leave what you don't. But it's literally just prompts, idea prompts of what types of content you can post as a small business owner, or I mean, I guess not even a small business owner, just good content types.
Yep. Great.
So that's what's been in there. And what am I forgetting and what's new that you can show us? I know some of the new things, but I'm excited to see.
Yeah, well, let's touch on this. So a couple of things. So you had been able to edit your reel cover, but now you can do something that's really important. You can add a custom cover.
Nice.
So depending on how you want your reel to appear on your grid. So this is a video that we'd shared earlier. Adding a custom cover will allow you to either upload directly from your Adobe Express projects or your files. The same you can do on Instagram, right, where you can choose a frame from a video, or you can get your custom cover. So we've added that. Let's go on to an image post. So here we can add alt text to. This has been a highly requested feature, so important for accessibility reasons. So this is a picture of, if you could spell, it'd be amazing. I won't describe it, but this is a picture of whatever it is. So
yeah, super great thing to add alt text. And is alt text, I know it's great for accessibility. Does it impact SEO as well, or is it just?
This is an interesting.
Is that a question?
It's a funny stat. Is that since we launched this feature, it's being used most on Pinterest, and you know exactly why alt text is being used on Pinterest. It's because SEO. So you have it for accessibility reasons, but marketers is going to always find a way to make it about growth. So there you go.
Win-win for everyone. Use alt text. Exactly. It's just good.
Yeah, indeedy. So what else we got? What else is new? Right, let's touch on the clip maker as well. Before I do that as well, just a quick thing. So as you can see, we've got some posts in the calendar here. We can easily make these post draft state as well. So drafts are great for like little reminders we have in the calendar. Also, a good reminder for me to make these a draft as well, because I can't tell you the amount of times I've done this where I've just been showing this for demo reasons. And
yeah. If you follow me and Andy, you get the pleasure of seeing the posts we accidentally actually post talking about our imaginary businesses and all types of great things. I've gotten so many congratulations on my cat cafe that certainly isn't real. So
But as you can see, we can kind of like build our plan with drafts. We can get inspiration from these post suggestions, as Jordan was saying, and we can drag and drop around as appropriate to schedule our content. But we were talking right at the start about the clip maker, and the importance of podcasts on YouTube and also YouTube Shorts. A great way of combining these is if you head to this plus menu and you go to quick actions. Under social media, we've now created this clip maker. So in this clip maker here, this is, as the name suggests, you upload a longer form video here, of which I won't do now because it does take about kind of 20 or so minutes to do. But don't worry, even though it sounds like a long time, you can carry on with the rest of your work. We just go ahead and upload a piece of content, of which you could upload this video. I won't do it now, but once that video is uploaded, what it'll do is then clip it into 10 perfectly framed clips, and two of our favorite people are in this set of clips.
Oh, Phil and Liz.
Exactly.
The other thing too is that it'll pull out like the most important things as well. So not only will it clip it for you, it will be smart about how it does that.
Yeah, that is a very important point, definitely. So what you'll see is that after we've uploaded that video, it's then going to spit it out into 10 clips based on using our tools to understand what are the most important pieces to emphasize. And to make it really easy in this multi-page project, you can see the titles of this and so what it's about. So this is really helpful in helping us like organize based on this content, of which we could then easily just take this. We can now edit it so we get captions automatically. Those captions we can apply our brands to if we want to. So we can go ahead and very easly change our color scheme based on our own brand kit.
And not to cut you off, Andy, this is the end. we have to go. Yes.
Just leave it. But try it out.
Play around with it. Yes. Thank you all so much for being here. Seriously, go play with Clipmaker. It's great. The recording will be available. You can follow me at Jordan Danae Ellis, Andy at Andy R. Lambert, and we'll be back for another stream. So let us know what you think. Message us. And thanks for being here. That's it. We'll see you soon.
Bye-bye.